She missed the job interview by helping a lost girl, not knowing she was the billionaire CEO's daughter. Before we start the story, leave in the comments which city you're watching from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Good story, everyone. The bus shut the door right in Alyssa Carter's face at exactly 8:47 in the morning. She knew the exact time because she looked at her phone when the driver stared at her through the glass, shrugged as if to say tough luck, and drove off, blowing a cloud of smoke in her face. Alyssa stood there, still, coughing, watching her only hope of arriving on time disappear down 18th Street while choking on diesel. "No!" she yelled, running after the bus for about 10 feet before realizing it was completely useless. "No, wait, I was right there. You saw me." The bus didn't wait. The bus didn't care about her dreams. The bus had schedules to keep and zero empathy for desperate girls. An elderly lady on the sidewalk looked at her with pity. "Honey, the next one comes in 20 minutes. 20 minutes. The interview was at 9. She needed to cross 12 blocks in 13 minutes. Not even if she were an Olympic athlete could she manage it, which Alyssa definitely wasn't, considering she got out of breath climbing one flight of stairs. "Please," she mumbled, looking up at the sky as if someone up there could hear her. "Please, just not today." The sky didn't answer. Of course not. The sky was too busy being blue and beautiful, while her life fell apart in slow motion. Alyssa took a deep breath. All right, she could still do this. If she ran, well, if she walked extremely fast with occasional intervals of desperate jogging, maybe she could still make it. Possibly. With a small miracle and an unreasonable amount of faith, she started walking. Fast. Very fast. 3 steps later, her bag opened and her resume flew out. The 15 copies she had printed the night before, using the last ink cartridge, went flying across the Denver sidewalk like doves being released at a wedding. No, no, no! Alyssa threw herself on the ground trying to catch the papers. A man in a suit stepped on one of the sheets. A woman with a baby stroller ran over another. One sheet stuck to a taxi wheel and was gone forever. There she was, on all fours in the middle of the sidewalk, picking up her crumpled resume while pedestrians stepped around her like she was an obstacle in their path. "Excuse me, miss, are you okay?" A young man stopped beside her. "I'm great," Alyssa said, with the strained voice of someone who clearly wasn't great. "I'm just having the best day of my life. Can't you tell?" He walked away quickly. Nobody could blame him. Alyssa got up with 10 crumpled, dirty sheets with a shoe print right in the middle of work experience. Perfect, wonderful. Exactly the impression she wanted to make, someone who can't even hold papers properly. She looked at her phone. 8:53. 7 minutes. She shoved the destroyed resumes into her bag and started really running. And by really running, understand that hurried little jog that office people do when they're late. Half trot, half fast walk, 100% awkward. Alyssa looked like a penguin in a hurry. A stressed, sweaty penguin questioning all her life choices. A pigeon stopped in front of her and tilted its head, clearly observing the scene. "Don't look at me like that," Alyssa panted at the bird. "You don't pay rent." The pigeon left. At least it had somewhere to go. The interview at Starlight Tower Hotel was Alyssa's last chance. Her bank account had exactly $43. The refrigerator had ketchup and hope, and her resume, now crumpled and stepped on, had been ignored by 37 companies in the last 4 months. 37. She counted every one. But Starlight had called. Finally, someone had looked at her name and thought, this girl deserves a chance. Or maybe they had thought, we need to fill an interview quota. It didn't matter. Alyssa was going to walk into that building, smile as if her life wasn't a walking disaster, and land that job. That was the plan. The plan lasted 2 more blocks, because that's when she saw her. A little girl, tiny, 8 years old maybe, standing alone near a newsstand, with tears streaming down her face and her shoulders shaking the way children shake when they're trying to be brave but can't manage it. Alyssa's heart stopped. The street was crowded. People walked past the girl as if she were a lamppost, a fire hydrant, just another obstacle in their path. Nobody stopped, nobody looked, nobody asked if she was okay. Alyssa looked at her phone. 8:55, 5 minutes. The little girl sobbed louder. Alyssa looked at the Starlight Tower, which was already visible at the end of the street, shining like a promise. She looked at the girl again, and her feet moved on their own. "Hey," Alyssa said, crouching down in front of the child. "Hey, it's okay, Everything's okay. What happened? The little girl looked at her with those huge, tearful eyes, her nose red from crying so much. I lost my dad, she managed to say between sobs. We were walking, and he answered the phone, and I saw something pretty in the window, and when I looked back, he wasn't there anymore. The girl's chest was rising and falling too fast. Her heart was racing. What's your name? Alyssa asked, trying to keep her voice calm, even though inside she was screaming. Look at the time. Look at the time. Emma. Emma. What a beautiful name. Alyssa held her little hand, which was freezing. I'm Alyssa, and I'm going to help you find your dad, okay? Do you trust me? Emma sniffled, wiped her nose with her coat sleeve, which Alyssa noticed was a very expensive coat, one of those that costs more than her rent, and nodded. Do you know your dad's name? His last name? Harrison, the girl said. Liam Harrison. Alyssa had never heard of him, but in Denver there were probably a million Harrisons. Okay, Emma, here's what we're going to do. We're going to walk around together and ask some people if they saw your dad, okay? Do you remember what he was wearing? Black suit, Emma said. He always wears a black suit. Mommy used to say he looked like a fancy penguin. Alyssa smiled. She couldn't help it. A fancy penguin. I love it. I was also looking like a penguin just a little while ago. You know, just a messy and late penguin. Emma gave a little smile. Small, shy, but there it was. And in that moment, Alyssa knew she had made the right choice, even if it meant losing everything. The two started walking, Alyssa, with her resumes crumpled in her bag and her heart pounding. Emma, holding her hand like it was the only solid thing in the world. Sir, Alyssa stopped a security guard on the corner. Did you see a man in a black suit? Tall, probably handsome, looks like a fancy penguin? The security guard looked at her with a confused expression. Lady, in Denver there are about 500 men in black suits per block. Fair enough, Alyssa said. Thanks for your help. He hadn't helped at all, but her mother always taught her to be polite. They kept walking. Alyssa asked a hot dog vendor, who was more interested in checking his own phone. A woman with 3 shopping bags who shook her head without even stopping. A guy who almost bumped into her because he was completely distracted by his phone screen. Excuse me, did you see a man in? He walked right past, didn't even look. A black suit. Alyssa finished to the air. Okay, great conversation, nice meeting you too. Emma tugged at her hand. Are we gonna find him? Of course we are, sweetie. Alyssa squeezed the girl's hand. Sometimes things take a little while, but we don't give up. Deal? Emma nodded, still with tears in her eyes. Nothing, nobody, no clues. And then Emma started crying again, this time harder. Hey. Alyssa crouched down again, holding her shoulders. Look at me. We're going to find him, I promise. Okay? I promise. She shouldn't have promised. A promise is a serious thing. But what could she do? The little girl was looking at her like Alyssa was the only person in the universe who cared. And maybe, in that moment, she was. Let's try one more thing, Alyssa said. Let's go back to where you were before. Sometimes when we get lost, the best thing is to go back to the beginning. Emma nodded, still sniffling. They went back to the newsstand, and that's when Alyssa saw him. A man. Black suit. Tall. Impressively handsome, one of those who look like they stepped out of a men's cologne commercial. He was walking fast, looking everywhere, his phone glued to his ear, his face transformed into pure desperation. He shouted when he saw them. Emma! Daddy! Emma let go of Alyssa's hand and ran. The man crouched down, hugged his daughter so tight it seemed like he wanted to protect her from the entire world, and for a second, just 1 second, everything around them stopped. He closed his eyes. The relief on his face was almost physical, like someone had lifted an enormous weight from his chest. His hand trembled when he stroked his daughter's hair. Never again, he murmured. Never do this to me again. Sorry, Daddy, Emma said, her voice muffled in his shoulder. I just wanted to see the window. Alyssa stood there, watching, with a lump in her throat she didn't expect. She didn't know these people, had no idea who they were. But seeing that man, holding his daughter like she was the most precious thing in the world, it touched her heart in an unexpected way. He stood up, still holding Emma, and looked at Alyssa. His eyes were a deep blue, the kind of blue that makes a person forget what they were thinking. You, he said, his voice rough. You found her? She found me, actually, Alyssa said, trying to smile despite everything. I just helped a little bit. He opened his mouth to say something, but his phone rang again. He looked at the screen, frowned with the expression of someone who carries the weight of 1,000 responsibilities, and answered, "Yes, yes, I know, I'm coming. 5 minutes." He hung up, looked at Alyssa with those eyes that seemed to carry the weight of the world. "Thank you," he said, quick, sincere, but rushed. Thank you. Really, you have no idea what this means." And before Alyssa could answer anything, her name, a decent "you're welcome," anything remotely intelligent, he turned around and walked away, Emma in his arms, disappearing into the crowd as if he had never existed. Alyssa stood there. The wind hit her face. Emma waved over her father's shoulder, a little wave, with her fingers. Alyssa waved back, smiling, and then slowly she looked at her phone. 9:12. The interview was at 9. She had missed it. Her stomach dropped. The world spun. Her legs went weak, and Alyssa had to lean against the magazine stand to keep from falling. 12 minutes late. In the corporate world, 12 minutes is an eternity. 12 minutes is a closed door. 12 minutes is, "Thank you for coming. We'll be in touch," and they never call back. Alyssa had just given up her last chance. For a little girl she didn't even know, she stood there for another minute, breathing deeply, trying not to cry in the middle of the street. A tear escaped anyway. She wiped it away quickly, running her hand across her face. $43 in her account, rent due in 10 days. Empty refrigerator. And now, no job prospects. She should be devastated. And she was. But when she thought of Emma, that relieved little face, that goodbye wave, Alyssa couldn't bring herself to regret it. Some things are bigger than a job interview. At least that's what she was going to keep telling herself until she believed it. And then, because she was too stubborn to give up, or maybe because she didn't know when to quit, Alyssa straightened her shoulders, lifted her head, pulled a wrinkled resume from her purse, tried to smooth out the creases with her hand, gave up, and started walking toward the Starlight Tower. If she was going to lose the job, at least she'd lose it with her head held high, or at least try to keep her composure on the way there. Alyssa Carter was standing in the middle of a Denver sidewalk, holding a wrinkled resume, 12 minutes late and with zero dignity left. And even so, her feet started walking toward the Starlight Tower. "You're a smart person," she mumbled to herself while dodging a man with 3 dogs. "You're capable. You're completely crazy for doing this." But she kept walking. The Starlight Tower building grew larger as she approached. 30 floors of mirrored glass shining against the Denver sky like a monument to success. The kind of success Alyssa only knew from a distance, usually through store windows she couldn't afford to enter. "Okay," she said, still talking to herself. "I'll get there. I'll explain the situation, and they'll understand. People understand things. People are understanding." A woman walking by looked at her with concern. Alyssa lowered her voice. "I'll say, 'Sorry I'm late, but I found a lost child and had to help.' And they'll say, 'What a noble thing to do, you're hired immediately.' She stopped at the red light." Or they'll say, "What a convenient story. Security, please escort this woman out." The light changed. Or worse, Alyssa continued, crossing the street. They'll say, "Miss, we don't even remember who you are. We have 500 candidates. Next." A pigeon landed on the sidewalk in front of her. "What do you think?" She asked the pigeon. "Should I go, or should I give up and move to a cave in the mountains?" The pigeon tilted its head and flew away. "Thank you so much for your input," Alyssa sighed. She kept walking, mentally rehearsing all the possible versions of the conversation she would have. In the optimistic version, the interviewer was a kind person who valued acts of kindness. In the realistic version, he was a busy executive who didn't have time for excuses. In the pessimistic version, which seemed increasingly likely, he wouldn't even see her. "Good morning, sir. I know I'm late, but no, too weak." "Good morning, sir. Before you say anything, no, too aggressive." "Good morning, sir. You won't believe what happened." No. Sounded like the start of a joke. An elderly woman stopped next to her at the traffic light. "Dear, are you okay? You've been talking to yourself for 2 blocks." Alyssa felt her face get hot. "I'm rehearsing for an interview." "Oh," the woman smiled. "Good luck. You look like you need it." "Thanks," Alyssa said. "I think." The Starlight Tower was now right in front of her. The glass revolving doors looked like the entrance to another universe. A universe where people wore expensive suits, drank coffee from china cups, and never ever arrived late to interviews. Alyssa stopped on the sidewalk. She took a deep breath. "You can do this," she said to herself. "You have nothing to lose. Literally." $43 doesn't count as something to lose. She took a step toward the doors, and then she saw her reflection in the glass. Oh, my goodness. Her hair, which she had carefully fixed that morning, now looked like it had survived a hurricane. Her blouse had a stain from something she hoped was coffee. Her blazer was crooked, and there was a dust mark on her cheek, probably from when she threw herself on the ground to pick up the resumes. Okay, she murmured, trying to smooth her hair with her hands. Okay, nothing that a little creativity can't fix. She opened her purse and frantically searched for anything useful. She found 3 crushed mints, a pen without a cap, the destroyed resumes, a hair tie, and a used napkin. Perfect. I have everything I need to make a terrible impression. Using the glass reflection as a mirror, Alyssa put her hair in an improvised bun, cleaned her cheek with the napkin, adjusted her blazer, and tried to look like a person who had control over her own life. The result was acceptable, in the sense of, at least I won't be mistaken for a homeless person. She put a mint in her mouth. Fresh breath was the least she could do, and straightened her shoulders. Come on, Alyssa. You helped a lost child. That's a good thing. If they don't value that, it's their problem. With that unconvincing pep talk, she pushed the revolving door, and almost fell. The door spun faster than she expected, and Alyssa stumbled into the Starlight Tower lobby as if she had been spit out by a washing machine. She straightened up quickly, pretending nothing had happened. A security guard looked at her suspiciously. Alyssa smiled. The security guard didn't smile back. The lobby was impressive, wasn't the right word. It was intimidating. Marble floors so polished she could see her reflection. Crystal chandeliers that probably cost more than her entire apartment. Elegant people walking back and forth with expressions of, I'm too important to smile. And there she was, Alyssa Carter, with a crooked bun, a stain on her blazer, and a resume with a shoe print. Can I help you? The voice came from an impeccable receptionist behind a marble counter. She had the kind of perfect posture that suggested years of ballet classes or a very expensive personal trainer. Yes, Alyssa said, trying to sound confident. I have had an interview at 9. I know I'm late, but... The receptionist raised a perfectly drawn eyebrow. Name? Alyssa Carter. The woman typed something on the computer. With each second of silence, Alyssa felt her stomach sink another inch. Miss Carter, the receptionist said finally. Your interview was at 9 o'clock. I know, I can explain. There was a lost child and The interviewer hasn't arrived yet. Alyssa blinked. What? He had a personal emergency and is running late. The receptionist finally showed something like a smile. You can wait in the waiting room. 2nd floor, to the right. Alyssa stood there, processing. He is late? Yes. The interviewer? Yes. Is late? The receptionist looked at her with clearly rehearsed patience. Yes, miss. Late. Stairs or elevator? Alyssa felt her legs get weak. The relief was so intense she almost laughed. A nervous, hysterical laugh, the kind that comes before an emotional breakdown. Elevator, she managed to say. Thank you. Thank you so much. She walked to the elevator, trying to maintain her composure, but inside she was screaming. The interviewer was late. She still had a chance. The universe, apparently, had decided not to destroy her completely today. When the elevator doors closed, Alyssa allowed herself a small smile. Okay, she whispered. You're still in the game. The elevator went up smoothly. She adjusted her bun one last time, smoothed her blazer, and prepared her best professional smile. The door opened on the 2nd floor. The 2nd floor waiting room seemed to have been decorated by someone who thought cozy meant intimidating with leather upholstery. Alyssa stopped at the entrance, taking in the atmosphere. Armchairs that cost more than her car, a coffee table with magazines arranged at perfect angles, a flower vase that probably had a Latin name, and 3 other candidates sitting in silence, all looking like they'd stepped out of a corporate fashion magazine. Perfect. It was exactly what she needed to feel confident. Miss Carter? An assistant with a tablet approached. You can have a seat. Mr. Harrison had something unexpected come up, but should be here soon. Harrison, Alyssa repeated, the last name echoing somewhere in the back of her mind. Where had she heard that before? Yes, Liam Harrison, our CEO. Alyssa's brain made a connection that she immediately dismissed. Harrison was a common last name. There had to be about 500 Harrisons in Denver alone. Coincidence? Thank you, she said, walking to the farthest armchair. As she sat down, Alyssa noticed that the other three candidates were watching her with expressions ranging from poor thing to one less competitor. One of them, blonde, impeccable blazer, ballerina posture, gave a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Rough day?" the blonde asked, looking at Alyssa's crooked bun. "No more than usual," Alyssa replied, trying to seem casual while discreetly checking if she still had the stain on her blazer. She did. She crossed her arms to hide it. "I'm Madison," the blonde said. 3 years of experience in luxury hotel management. And you?" Alyssa thought about lying, thought about making up an impressive resume full of fictional achievements. But her brain, apparently exhausted of all creativity, chose the truth. "Alyssa, experience in surviving." Madison blinked, clearly unsure how to process that. "Interesting," she said, turning her attention back to her phone. Alyssa sighed internally. Great start. While waiting, she tried to do a silent inventory of the damage. Hair, critical situation, but controlled by the bun. Blazer, stained, but disguisable if she kept her arms crossed forever. Resume, crumpled, stepped on, and with a shoe mark, but readable. Stockings, that was the tricky part. At some point during the morning rush, one of her stockings had torn. Not a small, discreet tear. A tear of the looks like a cat attacked my ankle variety. Alyssa looked down. The dress pants covered most of it, but if she crossed her legs wrong, she kept both feet firmly planted on the floor. Minutes passed. One of the candidates was called. Then another. Madison continued typing on her phone with the intensity of someone solving an international crisis. Alyssa took advantage of the moment to attempt emergency repairs. Using the window's reflection, she adjusted her bun. She licked her finger and tried to remove the stain from her blazer, which only made the situation worse. She checked if she had anything between her teeth. She organized the crumpled resumes as best as possible. "Are you okay?" The voice came from one of the remaining candidates, a brunette with glasses who seemed genuinely concerned. "I'm fine," Alyssa said with a forced smile. "Why?" "You're making some noises, like frustrated grunts." Alyssa hadn't realized she was making noises. "Oh, sorry, it's just pre-interview anxiety." The brunette nodded with understanding. "I get it. I'm so nervous I had 4 coffees this morning. My hands won't stop shaking." She showed her hands, which were indeed shaking like leaves in the wind. Alyssa laughed, a genuine laugh, the first of the day. "I had 0 coffees and I'm still shaking. I think we're in the same boat." "I'm Patricia? Alyssa?" "Nice to meet someone who also seems to be on the verge of a breakdown," Patricia said with a smile. "Likewise." Madison looked at the two with an expression of elegant contempt, but didn't say anything. A few more minutes passed. Patricia was called, giving a nervous wave to Alyssa before disappearing down the hallway. Now only Alyssa and Madison remained. The silence was heavy. "So," Madison said, breaking the ice in a way that seemed more like an attack. "What brought you here? Besides, apparently a hurricane?" Alyssa took a deep breath. She could be polite. She would be polite. "I need the job," she said simply. "Everyone needs a job, honey." "Yeah, but not everyone has $43 in their account and rent due in 10 days. Madison had no answer for that. Alyssa was surprised by her own honesty. Maybe it was the exhaustion, maybe it was the impossible morning she had lived through, or maybe she simply didn't have the energy to pretend anymore. The hallway door opened and the assistant appeared. "Miss Price? Madison Price?" Madison stood up, smoothing her perfect blazer. "Good luck," she said to Alyssa, in a way that clearly meant, "You're going to need it." "Thank you," Alyssa replied. "You too." Madison disappeared down the hallway. Alyssa was alone. She looked at the clock on the wall. She had been waiting for 40 minutes already. The mysterious interviewer still hadn't arrived. Or maybe he had already arrived and was interviewing the other candidates first, which meant she would be last. Was that good or bad? She didn't know. Maybe it was good. The last impression is the one that sticks, right? Or was it the first? She couldn't remember anymore. Her nerves were eating up every working brain cell. Alyssa closed her eyes and tried to calm down. She thought about Emma, about that shy little smile, about the goodbye wave. At least one good thing had happened today. At least she had helped someone. If she didn't get the job, at least she would have that. The door opened. "Miss Carter?" Alyssa opened her eyes and stood up so fast she almost tripped. "Yes, that's me." The assistant smiled, a real smile this time. "Mr. Harrison is ready to see you." Alyssa straightened her blazer, checked that her bun was still in place, and walked toward the hallway. Each step felt like forever. The assistant stopped in front of a double mahogany door. "Good luck," she said, and this time it seemed sincere. Alyssa took a deep breath. She pushed the door. The room was huge, glass table, floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of Denver, and a man with his back turned, looking at the city. Black suit, tall, dark hair. Alyssa felt something strange in her stomach. The man turned around, and the world stopped. They were the same blue eyes, the same face, the same man who had hugged Emma on the street less than an hour ago. Liam Harrison stared at her with an expression of pure shock, and Alyssa realized, with a tightness in her chest, that her morning was about to get much, much more complicated. Alyssa stopped in the hallway, her hand on the handle of the double mahogany door, and took her phone out of her purse. 3 messages from Mrs. Martinez. The first, "Everything's fine here. Noah is drawing." The second, "He wants to know if you're bringing pizza if you get the job." The third, "Now he's making a list of things he wants if you get rich. It includes a real dinosaur." Alyssa smiled despite her nerves. She typed quickly, "Tell him the dinosaur is going to be tough, but we can work out the pizza. Love you. Thanks for everything." She put away her phone, took a deep breath, and pushed the door. The room was huge. Gleaming glass table, floor-to-ceiling windows with a view of all of Denver. The kind of place where million-dollar decisions were made before breakfast, and a man with his back turned, looking at the city. Black suit, tall, dark hair. Alyssa felt something strange in her stomach. The man turned around, and the world stopped. They were the same blue eyes, the same face, the same man who had hugged Emma on the street less than an hour ago. "Hi," Alyssa said. Silence. Hello. More silence. "Mr. CEO." Her brain screamed internally. Of all the things she could have said, she chose the most awkward combination possible. Liam Harrison remained standing there, clearly processing the situation. "You?" he said finally. "Me," Alyssa confirmed. "From the street." "From the street. Yes, present. Live in person." She wanted to dig a hole in the marble floor and live there forever. Liam walked to the table, pulled out a chair and gestured for her to sit. Alyssa obeyed on autopilot. "So," he said, sitting in the opposite chair, "you are Alyssa Carter." "I am. At least I was the last time I checked. And you're here for the events manager position." "I am. Unless that's a problem." Alyssa swallowed hard. "Look, I swear I didn't know who you were. I wasn't following you. I really do have a scheduled interview. It's in the system. You can check." "I know it's in the system." "Great. So you know I'm not a person who stalks executives with lost children." Liam raised an eyebrow. "Does that happen often?" "No, you know what I meant." "Do I?" "Honestly, I don't even know anymore either." One corner of Liam's mouth went up, almost invisible. He was trying not to laugh. "Miss Carter," he said, regaining his composure. "Let's start from the beginning. Why do you want to work at Starlight Tower?" The question was basic, rehearsed 500 times in the bathroom mirror. But now all the answers evaporated. "Because I need to," she said simply. Liam waited. "I could make up something nice about passion for the hotel industry. But the truth?" Alyssa took a deep breath. "I have a 6-year-old son at home. Noah. He's with my neighbor right now, probably trying to convince her that cereal counts as lunch." She paused. "I have $43 in my account, rent due in 10 days, and my resume has been rejected by 37 companies in the last 4 months. 37, Liam repeated. "Some said I was overqualified for entry-level positions. Others asked about my availability, and when I mentioned I'm a single mom, suddenly the position had already been filled." Alyssa shrugged. "Coincidence, I'm sure." The sarcasm was subtle, but present. "So yes," she continued, "I need this job, not for luxuries. I need it to keep a roof over my son's head, to make sure he has food on the table, to be able to look at him and say that mommy didn't give up." The silence that followed was heavy. Liam watched her with an indescribable expression. "And what makes you think you'd be a good events manager?" he asked. Alyssa straightened her posture. 5 years as corporate events coordinator at Weston & Associates. I organized over 200 events, from conferences for 500 people to high-end executive dinners. I managed budgets up to $2 million and never went over by a penny." She paused, gaining confidence. "Before that, 3 years in conference logistics. Degree in business administration with specialization in project management. I know how to coordinate vendors, negotiate contracts, solve last-minute crises, and stay calm when everything seems to be falling apart." Liam nodded, clearly impressed. "And there's one more thing." Alyssa continued, allowing a slight smile. I'm a single mom of a 6-year-old boy. That means I wake up at 5 in the morning, managing complex logistics involving lunchboxes, backpacks, socks that never match, and diplomatic negotiations about the importance of brushing teeth. She looked directly at him. If I can get my son to eat broccoli without complaining, believe me, I can handle any difficult vendor or demanding client. This time, Liam definitely smiled. That's quite a qualification, he said. I know, that's why it's frustrating to be rejected so many times. Alyssa sighed, but I don't give up easily. I never gave up. Liam leaned back in his chair, thoughtful. And what happened with Weston and Associates? Closed. 8 months ago. Corporate restructuring, they said. Translation, the owner sold everything and went to the Bahamas. I'm sorry. Me too, it was a good job. Alyssa looked at her hands. I was good at it. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. She ignored it. It vibrated again. If you need to answer. Liam began. It's just my neighbor. Probably Noah knocked something over or is trying to adopt a squirrel from the yard. Normal Wednesday situation. Liam looked at her with something different in his eyes. Something that seemed like recognition. Emma does the same thing, he said. Once she tried to convince the babysitter that hamsters needed to take pool baths. Alyssa laughed. And do they? We found out they don't, in the worst possible way. The two exchanged a look. That look of parents who survived impossible situations and lived to tell about it. Miss Carter, Liam said, leaning forward, you almost missed this interview because of my daughter. Almost. And you still came. I had to try. For Noah. For both of us. Liam nodded slowly. My daughter won't stop talking about you, the messy penguin lady. Alyssa felt her face warm up. I may have mentioned a comparison with penguins. Emma thought it was hilarious. She hasn't laughed like that in a long time. His voice got lower. She lost her mother 2 years ago. I lost my wife. Since then, he didn't finish the sentence. Alyssa felt her heart tighten. I'm sorry, she said softly. Really? Liam nodded, composing himself. What you did this morning, stopping your life to help a stranger's child, that says more about you than any resume. And your resume is pretty impressive. Alyssa didn't know what to say. I have 50 candidates for this position. Liam continued. All with brilliant resumes, but none of them did what you did. None of them proved who they really are when nobody is watching. He stood up and extended his hand. I think this interview is going to be very different from what either of us expected. Alyssa shook his hand, feeling the firmness of his grip and something more, an unexpected connection between two people who carried the weight of the world on their shoulders but refused to fall. And in that moment, something changed. She didn't know exactly what it was, but when Liam Harrison looked her in the eyes, Alyssa had the feeling that her life was about to take a completely unexpected turn. The handshake lasted 3 seconds longer than it should have. Alyssa noticed. Liam noticed. Even the air conditioner seemed to notice. So, Liam said, letting go of her hand and clearing his throat. Let's continue. I have some standard protocol questions. Standard protocol, Alyssa repeated, sitting down again. Sure. I love protocols. Protocols are great. She needed to stop talking. Liam went back to his chair, picked up a pen, and looked at a form on the desk with the expression of someone trying very hard to look professional. Question number 1. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Alyssa blinked. Seriously, it's the protocol. You're really going to ask me that? I really need to fill out this form. Alyssa looked at the ceiling, thinking. In 5 years, I hope to be employed somewhere, with a roof. Preferably a roof without leaks, and maybe a new couch that doesn't have grape juice stains. Liam was quiet for a moment. That's surprisingly honest. You asked. He wrote something down on the paper. Alyssa stretched her neck trying to see, but his handwriting looked like an electrocardiogram. Question number 2, Liam continued. What's your biggest flaw? My biggest flaw is that I don't know how to lie in these interviews. Is that a flaw? Apparently. I've been told I should answer things like, I'm too much of a perfectionist or I'm too dedicated to work. But the truth? She sighed. I eat chocolate when I'm stressed, and then I regret it. Liam stopped writing. Chocolate? Specifically the ones with peanuts, my absolute weakness. That doesn't seem like a professional flaw. You'd be surprised. Once I ate a whole bar during a vendor crisis and then couldn't zip up my pants for the client meeting. I had to do the entire presentation holding my stomach. Liam made a strange sound, something between a cough and a stifled laugh. "Next question," he said quickly, clearing his throat. "How do you handle pressure situations?" "With chocolate, as I just mentioned." "Besides chocolate." "Oh," Alyssa thought. "I take a deep breath, prioritize what's urgent, and solve one problem at a time. And if everything goes wrong, at least I have a good story to tell later." "A good story?" "My son loves it when I tell him about work disasters. He thinks mommy is a corporate adventure hero." Liam raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. "Corporate adventure hero?" "That's how he describes it. In his head, I fight villains in suits and save wedding parties from chaos." Alyssa shrugged. "Reality is less glamorous, but he doesn't need to know that." Liam's phone rang. He looked at the screen and his posture changed instantly. The CEO disappeared. Only the father remained. "Excuse me," he said, answering. "Emma? What's wrong, sweetie?" Alyssa watched the transformation. It was like seeing two different people living in the same body. "No, Daddy is still working. Yes, I'll pick you up. No, you can't have only ice cream for dinner, because it's not healthy. No, not even if you promise to eat a lettuce leaf with it." Pause. "This isn't a negotiation, young lady. 1 scoop of ice cream, after dinner, and only if the vegetables disappear from your plate. Deal? Love you too. Bye." He hung up and found Alyssa biting her lower lip, clearly holding back. "You can laugh," he said. "I wasn't going to laugh." "Yes, you were." "Okay, I was," she smiled. "It's just that I had this same conversation yesterday, only it was about cookies, and it involved bribing with an extra cartoon episode. Let me guess, he won? 2 extra episodes and 3 cookies." Liam shook his head. "Kids should teach negotiation courses. They'd make millions. Noah already said that when he grows up he wants to be the boss of everyone. I think he's training with me." Liam laughed. A genuine, unguarded laugh. The kind of sound that seemed rare coming from him. "Where were we?" he asked, looking at the form. "You were going to ask me another protocol question that I'll probably answer in an embarrassing way." "Right." He read the paper. "Why would you be the ideal candidate for this position?" Alyssa opened her mouth. "Yes." Liam waited. "Yes. Yes, I would be. That's not a complete answer. You asked why. I answered yes. It makes sense in my head, sort of." Liam stared at her. Alyssa felt her face catching fire. "Sorry. My brain freezes when I get nervous. What I meant to say is..." She took a deep breath. "I would be ideal because I know how to solve problems before they become crises. Because I've learned that flexibility is more important than perfection. And because when something goes wrong, and it always does, I don't panic. I fix it. And if you can't fix it, I improvise until no one notices there was a problem." "Does that happen often?" "More than any client has ever known." Liam put his pen on the table and leaned back in his chair. "Miss Carter, can I be honest? Please." "This is the most unusual interview I've conducted in 15 years. Alyssa's stomach dropped. "I messed everything up, didn't I?" "I knew it. When I get nervous, I talk too much and make jokes that nobody asked for, and..." "I didn't say it was bad." She stopped. "No? I said it was unusual." He watched her carefully. "Most candidates come in here with rehearsed answers, practiced smiles, everything calculated to impress." "That sounds smart, actually." "It does, but it's impossible to know who they really are." Liam leaned forward. "You walked in here, answered yes to why, confessed an addiction to chocolate, and described your son as a professional negotiator. When you list it like that, it sounds worse than it was. On the contrary," his eyes met hers, "you're the first person who has made me genuinely laugh in weeks, and the only one who was completely real." Alyssa didn't know what to do with those words. Liam stood up and walked to the window. He was quiet for a moment, looking at the city below. "You know what's rare these days?" he said without turning around. "Integrity." Alyssa remained silent. "People who do the right thing when no one is watching, when there's no reward, when, actually, doing the right thing might cost you." He turned to face her. "You almost missed this interview to help a child you didn't know, without knowing who she was, without expecting anything in return. I just did what anyone would do." "No." Liam shook his head. "That's not what anyone would do. Emma told me. Dozens of people walked past her like she was invisible. You were the only one who stopped." The silence hung heavy between them. Liam returned to the desk, but didn't sit down. He stood there, looking at Alyssa with an intensity that made her hold her breath. "Integrity can't be taught, Miss Carter. You have something that no amount of money can buy." Alyssa felt her heart stop for a second. I don't know what to say." "You don't need to say anything." He extended his hand. Second phase of the process, tomorrow, 8 o'clock, directly with me. Alyssa stood up, her legs shaky. Directly with you? Any problem? No, none. Zero problems. I'll be here. At 8, maybe 7:30, or 7. Better not risk it. She shook his hand, trying to look professional, but the smile spreading across her face was impossible to contain. Thank you, she said. Really, this means more than you can imagine. I think I can imagine. Alyssa let go of his hand and walked toward the door, her heart beating so loud she could hear it in her own ears. She reached the handle. She pulled. The door didn't open. She pulled again. Nothing. You need to push, Liam said behind her. I knew that. She pushed. The door opened. Alyssa took a step forward, triumphant, and tripped over her own foot. For one terrible second, she saw herself falling in slow motion. Her arms flailed, her body tilted. The floor approached, but she grabbed the door frame at the last instant, recovering her balance with all the grace of a drunk flamingo. I'm fine, she announced without turning around. Completely fine. That was intentional. Reflex test. I passed. She heard a low laugh coming from inside the room. Alyssa straightened her posture, lifted her chin, and walked down the hallway as if nothing had happened. Only when the elevator doors closed did she allow herself to breathe. And smile. A huge, radiant smile, the kind that makes your cheeks hurt. Her phone buzzed. Message from Mrs. Martinez. Noah wants to know if you're already the boss of the world. He said you were working on it. He asked if he can be vice president. Alyssa laughed alone in the elevator, her eyes watery with relief and joy. For the first time in months, she felt something she had forgotten what it was like. Hope. Alyssa arrived at Starlight Tower at 6:43 in the morning. The interview was at 8. She was 1 hour and 17 minutes early, sitting on a bench outside the building, holding a coffee that had been cold for 20 minutes. You are a balanced person, she murmured to herself, a confident professional who arrived ridiculously early because she has obvious issues with punctuality. A pigeon landed next to her on the bench. Don't judge me, Alyssa said to the bird. You don't pay rent. The pigeon flew away. At 7:50, she finally entered the lobby. The same receptionist from yesterday looked up and, to Alyssa's surprise, smiled. Miss Carter, Mr. Harrison asked me to let him know as soon as you arrived. He's already here? Mr. Harrison arrives at 6 every day. Alyssa blinked. 6 in the morning, every day. Billionaires were a different kind of human being. 2 minutes later, she was in the elevator, going up to the 15th floor. This time, she had checked 3 times that her clothes were in order, that there were no mysterious stains, and that both socks were intact. Small victories. The doors opened, and Liam Harrison was standing right there, waiting for her. Miss Carter, punctual. Technically, I've been here since 6:43, but who's counting? He raised an eyebrow. 6:43? I have a complicated relationship with schedules. I prefer to arrive way too early than risk being late. That explains the empty coffee cup in your hand. Alyssa looked at the cup she was still holding, completely empty. She hadn't even noticed she had drunk it all. Nervousness, she admitted. It does strange things to people. Liam almost smiled. Come on, today will be different. He started walking down the hallway and Alyssa followed him, trying to keep up with his long strides. Different how? No forms, no protocol questions. That sounds good. You're going to follow me through the hotel routine, see how things work, and I'm going to see how you react. Alyssa swallowed hard. That sounds like a test. It is a test. Oh, great. I love tests, especially surprise ones. Those are the best. They entered another elevator. Liam pressed the ground floor button. First stop, main restaurant kitchen. We have a corporate event tonight for 300 people. 300 people? Any problem with that? None. I love crowds and food. Crowds with food are the best kind of crowd. The doors opened directly into organized chaos. The kitchen was huge. Dozens of people in white uniforms moved in sync, cutting, frying, assembling plates with surgical precision. The smell was incredible, a mix of herbs, butter, and something sweet that Alyssa couldn't identify. Chef Monroe, Liam called, a tall man with an impeccable mustache and the expression of someone who didn't tolerate incompetence, approached them. Mr. Harrison, the lady is? Alyssa Carter, candidate for the event manager position. The chef examined her from head to toe as if he were evaluating an ingredient of questionable quality. Experience with food events? I coordinated dinners for up to 500 people in my previous position. 500. He seemed slightly less suspicious. Do you know the difference between mise en place and à la minute? Mise en place is the advanced preparation of all ingredients. À la minute is cooking at the moment of the order. The chef blinked, clearly surprised. And do you know why that matters for an event manager? Because if I don't understand the time the kitchen needs, I'll create impossible schedules and make everyone want to throw me in a pot of boiling water. Silence. And then Chef Monroe did something unexpected. He laughed. I like her, he said to Liam. She can stay. Alyssa let out the breath she didn't even know she was holding. Liam guided her out of the kitchen, through hallways she didn't even know existed. Did you study kitchen terms for this interview? No. I worked at a restaurant in college. I washed dishes and listened to the chefs yelling. I learned through osmosis and fear. Liam chuckled softly. The next stop was the event hall, a gigantic space with crystal chandeliers, tables being set up, and a decoration team discussing the arrangement of flower displays. The centerpiece is 2 inches to the left, a woman with glasses was saying. 2 inches don't make a difference, replied a young man. 2 inches make all the difference. Alyssa watched the discussion for a moment. May I? She asked Liam. He gestured, go ahead. Alyssa approached the pair. Excuse me, what's the event theme? The woman with glasses looked at her suspiciously. Who are you? Someone who's had the same discussion 500 times. Alyssa smiled. The theme? Contemporary elegance with classic touches. Then the arrangement shouldn't be centered symmetrically. It should be slightly offset to create visual movement. She pointed to the table. Move it 2 inches to the right, not to the left. It'll create the illusion of fluidity without looking disorganized. The woman with glasses stared at her for a long moment. Who are you again? Alyssa Carter, possibly your future co-worker, if I don't mess everything up by the end of the day. The woman looked at Liam, who was watching the scene with an unreadable expression. She knows what she's talking about, the woman admitted. I know, Liam replied. Alyssa felt her face get warm. They continued the tour. Reception, conference area, spa, gym. At each stop, Liam watched how Alyssa interacted with the staff, how she answered questions, how she solved small problems that came up. And at each stop, she felt more confident, until they reached the executive lobby on the 18th floor. A man was standing near the elevator, perfectly tailored gray suit, hair combed back, flawless smile that seemed to have been practiced in the mirror. Liam, he said, opening his arms. I thought you were in meetings all day. Change of plans. Liam seemed relaxed. Second round of interviews. Interviews. The man turned to Alyssa with apparently genuine interest. Preston Hale, corporate director, this guy's right-hand man. He gave Liam a friendly pat on the shoulder. Alyssa shook the extended hand. Alyssa Carter. Carter, what a pleasure. Preston's smile was warm, welcoming. So you're the lucky one getting the full tour with the boss? Lucky is one word. Survivor might be more accurate. Preston laughed. She's funny, Liam. I like her. She's doing well, Liam agreed. I bet she is. Preston winked at Alyssa in a friendly way. Anything you need, my door is always open. We're a family here at Starlight. Thank you, that's very kind. Not kind at all, it's self-interest. He smiled. Good people make my job easier. Liam's cell phone rang. I need to take this, he said, looking at the screen. 1 minute. He stepped a few feet away, bringing the phone to his ear. Preston kept smiling at Alyssa. So Alyssa, where do you come from? Weston and Associates, corporate event coordination. Weston, of course. Solid company. He tilted his head. Too bad it closed, isn't it? Yes, but sometimes doors close so others can open. What positive thinking. Preston took a step closer, lowering his voice as if sharing a secret between friends. A tip, from colleague to future colleague. Liam is a fair guy, but demanding. A lot of promising people didn't survive their first month here. Alyssa kept her smile. I appreciate the warning. You're welcome. I just want you to know what you're getting into. He winked again. I'm rooting for you. Liam came back, putting away his phone. Sorry, problem solved. He looked at Preston. See you at tomorrow's meeting? Sure. Wouldn't miss it for anything. Preston waved to Alyssa. It was a pleasure, Alyssa. I'm sure we'll be seeing a lot of each other around here. Likewise, she replied. Preston walked away down the hallway, whistling softly. Liam guided Alyssa back to the elevator. What did you think of the tour? Intense, impressive, slightly terrifying. She smiled. I liked it. The elevator doors opened. They got in. You did better than most candidates who have been through here, Liam said, pressing the ground floor button. Really? Really? Chef Monroe never said I like her about anyone. Usually he just grunts and goes back to his pans. Alyssa laughed, feeling relief wash over her body. So, what happens now? Liam looked at her with an expression she couldn't figure out. Now comes the final phase. Another phase? Alyssa's stomach did a flip. There's more? There is. Is it another interview? More questions? Written test? Trial by fire? Gladiator fight? Liam almost smiled. None of that. The elevator doors opened on the ground floor. They stepped out into the lobby. Liam stopped and turned to face her. Tonight's event, 300 people, corporate dinner. Yes? You're going to coordinate it. Alyssa blinked. I'm going to, what? Coordinate the event. Tonight. Tonight? Tonight? Like in a few hours tonight? Exactly. Alyssa opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. But I don't even work here yet. Consider it a practical test. A practical test with 300 people and a high-end dinner? You said you coordinated events for 500 people. I did, and I coordinated them. But I had weeks of preparation, not... She looked at her watch. 7 hours. 6.5 hours, actually. Alyssa felt her legs wobble. You're serious? Completely. And if I mess everything up, then I'll know I made the wrong decision. Liam stared at her with those blue eyes that seemed to see through any mask. But I don't think I will. Alyssa took a deep breath. Then again, and one more time. All right, she said finally. All right, I can do this, I think, possibly, with a lot of faith and maybe a little desperation. Liam extended his hand. Good luck, Miss Carter. She shook his hand. I'm going to need it. He walked away toward the executive elevators. Alyssa stood in the lobby, her heart beating too fast. 6.5 hours, 300 people, an event that could change her life or end any chance she had. Her phone buzzed. Message from Mrs. Martinez. Noah asked what time you're coming home. Said he needs you for homework. Alyssa typed quickly. Maybe late. Mom's about to have a heart attack or get a job. Still don't know which. She put her phone away and looked at the event hall at the end of the hallway. 6.5 hours. It was time to prove what she was made of. A woman with her hair pulled back and red-framed glasses appeared out of nowhere and grabbed Alyssa's arm like she was rescuing someone from a fire. Are you Carter? I am, I think. Depends on what I did. I'm Rebecca. HR. Come with me. Now. Before Alyssa could protest, she was being dragged down a hallway she didn't know, past doors that seemed to lead to parallel dimensions of the hotel. Where are we going? You can't coordinate an event for 300 people dressed like that. Alyssa looked at her own clothes. Black dress pants, navy blue blouse, a blazer she considered her lucky blazer, mainly because it was the only one without stains. What's wrong with my outfit? Rebecca looked at her like she had asked what was wrong with wearing pajamas to a board meeting. Honey, this is the Starlight Tower. They stopped in front of a door with a gold plaque that said Executive Dressing Room. Rebecca opened the door and pushed Alyssa inside. The place looked like a luxury department store, clothing racks organized by color, shoes on lit shelves, a full-length mirror that probably cost more than Alyssa's car. Size? Rebecca asked, already going through the racks. 8, sometimes 10, depends on how much I ate that week. Rebecca stopped and looked at her. Was that a joke? It was a sad truth disguised as a joke. The woman almost smiled, almost. 30 seconds later, Alyssa was holding an elegant black dress, a pair of heels that looked like medieval torture instruments, and a structured blazer that probably cost 3 months of her rent. Get dressed, 5 minutes. Rebecca left. Alyssa changed in record time, and then she looked at herself in the mirror. The woman staring back at her was different. The dress fit perfectly. The blazer gave her an air of authority that Alyssa never knew she could have. Who are you? She whispered to her reflection. The reflection didn't answer. It was probably as confused as she was. The heels, however, were another story. Alyssa took an experimental step. She wobbled, took another step, almost fell. It's just walking, she said to herself. People walk in heels all the time. It can't be that hard. It was hard. It was very hard. She left the dressing room walking like a newborn flamingo trying to cross an ice rink. The event hall was already controlled chaos when she arrived. Waiters setting up tables, sound crew testing microphones, florists making adjustments. Attention! Rebecca shouted. This is Alyssa Carter. She's coordinating today's event. Any problems, talk to her. 20 pairs of eyes turned to Alyssa. Hi. Hello. Nice to meet you. She waved awkwardly. Let's put on an amazing event. or at least an event where nobody gets hurt. That's the minimum goal. Silence. That was a joke. I make jokes when I'm nervous. You'll get used to it. One of the waiters raised his hand. Chef Monroe wants to know if the menu was approved. Was it approved? We don't know. That's why we're asking. Great, I'll find out. Next problem? A woman from the sound crew approached. The main microphone has static. Did you change the batteries? Batteries? Change the batteries. The problems came in waves. The main table arrangement was 2 inches off. The air conditioning was too cold. A waiter dropped a tray of glasses. Alyssa solved everything. With speed, with humor, with a competence she didn't even know she had. On the mezzanine above the hall, Liam Harrison watched. He had told himself he was only there to check on the preparations. Routine. Professional. But his eyes couldn't look away from her. The way Alyssa moved through the hall, solving crises with a smile. How she made the staff laugh even under pressure. How she seemed to glow under the event lights, completely unaware of the effect she was having. Liam leaned his hands on the railing, not realizing he was smiling. In the ballroom, Alyssa rushed to prevent a disaster with the drink ice, completely unaware of the pair of blue eyes that followed her. The ice is melting too fast, a waiter said in panic. How many backup buckets do we have? 3. Bring them all, and turn down the air conditioning in the bar area. 2 degrees. Problem solved. Liam shook his head slightly, impressed. Preston appeared beside him. The event seems to be going well. It is. Liam didn't take his eyes off Alyssa. Preston followed his boss's gaze. Something hardened in his expression for a second. Just a second. She seems competent, Preston said, his tone carefully neutral. She is. I'll go down to check if she needs any help. Liam finally turned. Don't interfere. I want to see how she handles it on her own. Of course, Preston smiled. I just want to help. He went down the stairs. In the ballroom, Alyssa was checking the coordination folder when Preston approached. Alyssa, how's it going? Good. Everything's under control. Wonderful. Liam asked me to check if you needed anything. I appreciate it. Everything's fine. Preston looked around. What about the cost reports? Liam is very detailed about that. In the coordination folder, Alyssa pointed to the table. Great, great. Preston smiled. Good luck. He walked away. The guests started arriving at 7. By 8, the ballroom was full. By 9, dinner was being served without problems. Liam came down from the mezzanine and moved among the guests, greeting important clients. But even while talking with investors and executives, his gaze wandered around the ballroom until it found Alyssa. She was patiently guiding a waiter, even when she could clearly be stressed. She was smiling at a guest who seemed lost, gently pointing the direction to the restroom. She was adjusting a flower in the centerpiece with a care that no one else would notice. Liam noticed. He noticed every detail. And he realized with a clarity that caught him by surprise that he couldn't look away. At 10, the client's CEO gave a speech praising the flawless organization of the event. Alyssa watched from a corner, her heart racing with pride. She had done it. When the last guest left, Alyssa allowed herself to breathe. You were amazing. It was Diana, one of the waitresses. Seriously, we've seen many coordinators here. You're different. Different good or different worrying? Diana laughed. Different good. Alyssa smiled, exhausted but happy. She went to the table to get the coordination folder. She opened it. She frowned. She leafed through the documents. The cost report wasn't there. She was absolutely certain she had put it there. She had shown Preston exactly where it was. Alyssa felt a chill in her stomach. And in the mezzanine now empty, Liam Harrison was still thinking about her, about the smile, the competence, the brightness, not knowing that someone was already working to dim that light. Alyssa didn't sleep. She spent the entire night searching her memory, trying to remember where she had put that report. In the folder, she was sure, absolutely sure. She showed Preston exactly where it was. At 7 in the morning, a message on her phone. Mr. Harrison's office. 9 a.m. Don't be late. She read it 3 times. She tried to interpret the tone. Was it positive? Negative? Neutral? Was it possible to interpret tone in a text message? Mom, you're making a face like you ate a lemon, Noah said from the couch, still in his pajamas. I'm thinking, sweetheart. Thinking about something bad? Thinking about something uncertain. Noah considered this for a moment. When I feel uncertain, I eat cookies. It helps. That's an interesting life philosophy. It works. Alyssa smiled despite everything. She kissed his forehead. left instructions with Mrs. Martinez, and left for what could be the best or worst day of her life. At 8:55, she was in the elevator of the Starlight Tower, checking her reflection in the polished metal. "You're fine," she whispered to herself. "You did a great job. The event was a success. Everyone said so. The client's CEO said so. You're fine." The elevator stopped. The doors opened. "You're fine," she repeated one last time and walked toward Liam's office. The assistant greeted her with a smile. "Miss Carter, you can go in. They're waiting." They? Alyssa pushed the door. Liam was sitting behind the desk, impeccable as always. The blue eyes looked up when she entered, and something in them seemed to warm. "Miss Carter, please come in." She entered, and then she saw Preston. He was sitting in one of the visitor chairs, legs crossed, friendly smile on his face, as if it were a casual meeting between colleagues. "Alyssa," Preston said, getting up to greet her. "The star of the night, how are you?" "Fine, thank you. Please sit." Liam indicated the chair next to Preston. Alyssa sat down. She tried to look calm. Inside, her heart was beating like a drum. "First," Liam began, "I want to congratulate you. Yesterday's event was flawless. The client called this morning specifically to praise the organization." Relief. A huge wave of relief. "Thank you. The team was incredible. You coordinated everything with less than 7 hours of preparation," Liam interrupted. "That's not just anything. It's extraordinary." Alyssa felt her face get warm. "I did my best, and your best was more than enough." Liam leaned back in his chair. "You're hired. Officially. 3-month trial period, competitive salary, full benefits." The words took a second to make sense. Hired. She was hired. Alyssa opened her mouth to thank him, to cry, to make a nervous joke, anything. "But," Preston interrupted softly, "there's a small matter we need to clear up." The "but" fell like a bucket of cold water. "Matter?" Alyssa asked. Preston took a folder from his lap, the same coordination folder that Alyssa had used the night before. "The event cost reports." He opened the folder calmly. "I found some inconsistencies." "Inconsistencies?" "Numbers that don't add up. Unauthorized expenses." Preston frowned with concern that seemed rehearsed. "Probably nothing. Mistakes happen, especially under pressure." Alyssa felt her stomach sink. "I didn't make any mistakes with the numbers." "I'm sure it wasn't intentional." Preston smiled. "You were improvising, weren't you? With so little preparation time, it's understandable that some things slipped through." "I didn't." "What expenses specifically?" Liam interrupted, his voice neutral. Preston flipped through the papers. "The extra ice, for example. It wasn't in the original budget." Alyssa blinked. "The ice was melting. We needed more. I authorized the purchase because it was an emergency." "But you didn't record it." "I recorded it in the folder. It's not here." Alyssa looked at the folder, at Preston, at Liam. "I recorded it," she said, her voice firm despite the internal panic. "I know I recorded it." Preston sighed. "Alyssa, nobody is accusing you of anything. These are just numbers that need to be verified. I can explain every decision I made last night." "I'm sure you can." The ice was $80. The extra napkins, $35. The wine change for table 12 because the guest was allergic to sulfites, $120. Everything was documented. Preston raised his eyebrows. "You remember all of that off the top of your head?" "I remember everything I do." Silence. Liam watched the exchange with an unreadable expression. "Preston," he said finally, "leave the folder with me. I'll review it personally." Of course. Preston stood up, all smiles. "Certainly just a misunderstanding. These things happen." He turned to Alyssa. "Welcome to the team, Alyssa. I'm sure we're going to work very well together." The tone was friendly, the smile was warm, but the eyes said something else. Preston left. Alyssa stood there, her heart still racing. "Miss Carter," she turned to Liam. "I didn't make those mistakes," she said. "I know it sounds convenient to say that, but I know." Alyssa stopped. "You know, I watched you last night." Liam stood up, walked to the window. "I saw how you work, how you solve problems, how you treat people." He turned to face her. "You're not careless, and you're not dishonest." Alyssa felt a lump in her throat. "Then why?" "I'll investigate." His voice was firm. "If there are inconsistencies, I'll find out where they came from." He returned to the desk, picked up a card, and handed it to her. "Your employee badge. Human Resources will finalize the paperwork today." Alyssa took the card, her name, her photo. "Event manager, Starlight Tower Hotel." "Thank you," she whispered, "for believing in me. You gave me reasons to believe." Liam almost smiled. "Now go. You have an official first day of work to begin." Alyssa left the office, the badge in her hand, her head spinning. She was hired. It was real. But as she walked down the hallway, she couldn't ignore the cold feeling on the back of her neck. Preston was waiting at the end of the hallway, leaning against the wall, checking his phone. When she passed by, he looked up. "Oh, Alyssa, one more thing." She stopped. "Liam likes you." Preston put away his phone. "That's obvious, but liking someone doesn't protect anyone in this corporate world." Alyssa stared at him. "Is that a threat?" "A threat?" Preston laughed. "No, dear, it's advice." He took a step closer, lowering his voice. "People come and go in this hotel. I've been here for 8 years. I've seen many stars shine and then disappear." He smiled. "I hope you'll be different." Preston walked away, whistling quietly. Alyssa stood still in the hallway, clutching the badge in her hand. She finally had her dream job. But now she knew with absolute certainty that someone was determined to take it away from her. 3 weeks. 21 days. 504 hours. That's how long Alyssa had been officially employed at the Starlight Tower Hotel, and she still woke up every morning thinking someone would call saying it was all a mistake. But nobody called. Quite the opposite. She had successfully coordinated 2 more events, received praise from Chef Monroe, who, according to legend, never praised anyone. And best of all, her first paycheck had hit her account exactly 3 days ago. Alyssa cried at the ATM. Literally. The lady behind her asked if everything was okay. "I'm great," Alyssa replied, sniffling. "It's just that my bank account has more than 3 digits for the first time in 8 months." With her first paycheck, Alyssa paid her overdue rent, filled her refrigerator with real food, and bought a stuffed dinosaur for Noah. "It's not real," Noah said, examining the gift. "Real dinosaurs are hard to find, son. You didn't even try." Everything was going well, until that Tuesday. The call came at 2 in the afternoon. "Alyssa, dear, it's me." Mrs. Martinez's voice sounded tired. "The doctor's appointment took much longer than I expected. I'm still at the clinic waiting for some test results." "Is everything okay with you?" "Everything's fine, dear. Just routine. But these doctors take forever. I won't be able to pick up Noah from school." Alyssa looked at the clock. 2:10. Noah's school was 20 minutes away. Dismissal was at 3, and she had an event to finalize. "It's okay, Mrs. Martinez. Take care of your health. I'll pick him up." She hung up and took a deep breath. One of the advantages of being an event manager was having access to the hotel's fleet of cars for supplier emergencies. Picking up her son from school counted as an emergency, right? Technically, no. But Alyssa decided that at that moment, the definition of emergency was flexible. At 3:05, she parked one of the Starlight Tower cars in front of Greenwood Elementary. Noah came running out with his dinosaur backpack bouncing on his back. "Mommy, you never pick me up." He stopped when he saw the car. "What about this car?" "It's from Mommy's work." "Did you get rich?" "No, son, just borrowed." "Oh, pause, but it looks like a rich person's car." "Get in." "Where are we going?" "To Mommy's work." Noah's eyes lit up. "The castle?" "It's a hotel, son." "The Castle Hotel?" Alyssa sighed. "Yes, the Castle Hotel." 30 minutes later, they walked into the Starlight Tower lobby. Noah looked around with his mouth open. "Mommy," he whispered too loudly, "is Mommy's boss a real prince? Because only princes live in castles." A passing employee laughed. Alyssa felt her face burning. "He's not a prince. He's a CEO." "What's a CEO?" "It's like the boss of all bosses." "So he is a prince." Alyssa gave up explaining. She took Noah to her office and settled him on the couch with paper and colored pencils. "Son, Mommy needs to take care of some things. Stay here drawing, okay?" "Okay. Really quiet?" "Mommy?" Noah seemed offended. "I'm responsible." "You painted the neighbor's cat blue last month?" He looked prettier. Alyssa kissed his forehead and went back to work. An hour passed, everything quiet, until her phone rang. "Miss Carter, Mr. Harrison would like to see you in his office." Alyssa looked at Noah, focused on a drawing of a Tyrannosaurus. "Son, Mommy needs to go to a quick meeting. Stay here, okay? Don't leave this room for anything." "Okay. Promise?" "I promise, Mommy." Alyssa left and walked to Liam's office. The assistant waved for her to go in. She knocked on the door and opened it. Liam was standing near the window, holding some papers. When he saw her, he smiled. "Miss Carter, please come in. I wanted to discuss Saturday's event." "Of course, Mr. Harrison." Alyssa took 2 steps inside and heard a little voice behind her. "Mommy, this office is much bigger than yours." Alyssa froze. She turned around slowly. Noah was standing in the doorway, looking around with wide eyes of admiration. Noah, you promised to stay in the room. I know, but then I thought, what if you get lost in the castle? You would need me. I wasn't going to get lost. You got lost in the grocery store parking lot last week. That was one time. It was 3 times. Alyssa wanted the ground to swallow her. Mr. Harrison, I'm so sorry. He should have. Daddy, it's the penguin lady. The voice came from the corner of the office. Alyssa turned her head. Sitting on a soft rug, surrounded by colored pencils and papers, was a little girl with brown hair and blue eyes identical to Liam's. Emma. The girl jumped up, pointing at Alyssa with enthusiasm. It's her, Daddy, the lady who helped me when I got lost. She said I look like a messy penguin. It was so funny. Alyssa felt her face catch fire. I might have mentioned something about penguins. Liam smiled, clearly amused. She talks about you every week. Before Alyssa could process this information, Noah stepped forward. I'm Noah. Who are you? Emma turned to him. Emma, why are you here? My mom works at the castle. It's not a castle. It's a hotel. It looks like a castle. It looks like one, but it isn't. Noah considered this. Okay, what are you drawing? Emma held up the paper. A unicorn. Unicorns don't exist. Dinosaurs don't exist anymore either. Noah's eyes widened, clearly impressed with the argument. You're smart. I know. Do you like dinosaurs? Some, the ones that fly. Pterodactyls aren't technically dinosaurs, they're pterosaurs. Emma frowned. You're annoying. You're annoying. Pause. I like you, Emma decided. I like you too, Noah responded. Alyssa watched the scene completely frozen. She looked at Liam, expecting irritation, a scolding, anything, but he was smiling. Emma's babysitter had an emergency today, Liam explained. Seems like it's the day for emergencies. My neighbor too, doctor's appointment that ran late. These things happen. You're not angry? Why would I be? Because I brought my son to work, and he invaded your office. And, Miss Carter. Liam interrupted gently. You know what I learned being a single dad? Alyssa shook her head. That life doesn't wait for us to be ready. Sometimes you have a meeting with investors and your daughter has a fever. Sometimes there's an important event and there's no one to pick her up from school. He looked at the children who were now comparing drawings on the rug. We do what we need to do. Alyssa felt a lump in her throat. Most bosses don't think that way. Most bosses don't know what it's like to come home late and find their daughter sleeping while hugging a photo of her mom. The silence that followed wasn't awkward, it was shared. 2 parents, 2 stories, the same daily battle. T-Rex wins, Noah shouted from the corner. Shark wins. Emma shot back. Sharks didn't even exist at the same time. So what? It's imagination. Liam laughed. A real laugh, the kind that transformed his whole face. Alyssa laughed too, and when their eyes met, something passed between them, something neither was ready to name, but both felt. Noah, want to be my best friend? Emma asked. Want to be my best friend? Deal. And just like that, without knowing it, 2 children sealed the fate of 2 families that were about to become one. Emma Harrison had a plan, and like every 8-year-old with a plan, she wasn't going to give up until she got what she wanted. Daddy, when are we going to see Noah again? Liam had heard this question 14 times in the last 3 days. At breakfast, at dinner, at bedtime, in the car, in the elevator, in the middle of an important call with investors. But the truth was that he hadn't stopped thinking about that day in the office either. About Alyssa's laugh, about the way she looked at her son, about how the chaos of the 2 children together had made everything seem right. The next day, he stopped at Alyssa's office door. Miss Carter, do you have a minute? Alyssa looked up, surprised. Of course, Mr. Harrison. Emma won't stop asking when she's going to see Noah again. He put his hands in his pockets, trying to look casual. And I was thinking, the Denver Zoo has a new exhibit. Maybe the kids would like it. Alyssa blinked. The zoo? Saturday. If you don't have other plans. She hesitated. Wouldn't that be weird? I mean, you're my boss. I'm inviting you as the father of a child who wants to see her friend. Nothing professional. Nothing professional? Nothing. Alyssa bit her lip, trying to hide a smile. Noah would love it. So that's a yes? That's a yes. Liam smiled. That smile that transformed his whole face. Saturday at 10, I'll pick you 2 up. That's how the following Saturday, Alyssa found herself in the passenger seat of Liam Harrison's car, going to the zoo with her son and her billionaire boss's daughter. Her life had taken strange turns. Mom, stop looking nervous, Noah said from the back seat. I'm not nervous. Yes, you are. You make that face when you're paying bills. Emma laughed. Adults are weird. They are, Noah agreed. Very weird. Liam glanced at Alyssa out of the corner of his eye, amused. Looks like we're their entertainment. Looks like it. The zoo was crowded, but the day was perfect. Sunshine, light breeze, children running between the enclosures. As soon as they passed through the entrance, Emma and Noah shot ahead. Giraffes, Emma shouted. Lions, Noah shot back. Giraffes are taller. Lions are stronger. Height is better than strength. That's the most wrong thing you've ever said. Liam and Alyssa walked behind, keeping enough distance to talk. Thanks for the invitation, Alyssa said. Noah hasn't stopped talking about it all week. Emma too. I think I got emotionally blackmailed. Kids are experts at that. They should teach classes. Noah stopped in front of the lion sign and frowned. Mom, this sign is wrong. Alyssa sighed. What's wrong with it? It says here that lions sleep 20 hours a day. That's not a fact. It's an average. Some sleep 18, others sleep 22. This is misinformation. Liam looked at Alyssa. Is he always like this? Always. Impressive. One word to describe it. Emma tugged on Noah's sleeve. Come see the elephants. Elephants are better than lions. Nothing is better than lions. Elephants have memory. Lions only have manes. Noah considered the argument. Okay, let's go see the elephants. They walked past the zebras, the bears, the flamingos. Noah corrected 3 more signs. Emma convinced her dad to buy cotton candy for everyone. Alyssa discovered that Liam was terrified of snakes. Terrified is a strong word, he said, steering away from the reptile terrarium. You literally crossed to the other side. I crossed quickly. That's different. That's running away. That's survival strategy. Alyssa laughed. A real laugh, relaxed. The big billionaire CEO is afraid of snakes. Everyone has some fear. And what's your other fear? Liam was quiet for a moment. Not being a good father. The answer caught Alyssa by surprise. She looked at him, but Liam was watching Emma, who was now trying to teach Noah how to make faces at the monkeys. You're a great father, Alyssa said quietly. You think so? I'm sure of it. Liam looked at her. Something passed between them, brief, intense. Ice cream! Noah and Emma shouted in unison, breaking the moment. The rest of the afternoon flew by. Melting ice cream. Discussions about which flavor was best. A heated debate about whether penguins were better than dolphins. Penguins are birds that don't fly, Noah argued. That's confusing evolution. Dolphins are fish that breathe air, Emma countered. That's also confusing. Dolphins are mammals. Same thing. It's not the same thing. Yes, it is. When the sun began to set, the 4 walked back to the parking lot. The children went ahead, exhausted but still arguing about something involving sharks and pizza. Liam slowed his pace, staying beside Alyssa. It's been a long time since I had a day like this, he said. Like what? No pressure, no meetings, no one wanting something from me. He looked at her. Just this. Alyssa felt her heart speed up. I enjoyed it too. We should do it again. The kids would love it. Yeah, Liam hesitated. The kids. Pause. And us too. Alyssa didn't know what to say. But she didn't need to. Emma came running back and grabbed her father's hand. Daddy, Noah said he's going to teach me everything about dinosaurs. That's great, sweetheart. And I'm going to teach him about unicorns. Unicorns aren't real, Noah protested. So what? Dinosaurs don't exist anymore either. The argument continued all the way to the car. Liam opened the door for Alyssa. A small gesture, almost automatic. But she noticed. On the way back, the children fell asleep in the back seat. The car became quiet, but it wasn't an awkward silence. It was comfortable. When Liam parked in front of Alyssa's building, he turned to her. Thanks for today. I'm the one who should thank you. Noah won't forget this anytime soon. Emma won't either. They looked at each other for a moment. Alyssa felt like she should say something, but didn't know what. Good night, Alyssa, Liam said. It was the first time he had called her by her first name. Good night, Liam. She got out of the car, lifted sleeping Noah from the back seat, and walked to the building. At the door, she turned around one last time. Liam was still watching. He waved. She waved back. And as she climbed the stairs with Noah in her arms, Alyssa realized she was smiling. A smile that wouldn't go away. But 50 yards away, parked on the corner, another car was watching the scene. Preston Hale lowered his phone after taking the photo. Interesting, he murmured. Very interesting. Monday began with an email that made Alyssa's stomach drop. Urgent meeting, boardroom, 9 a.m. Attendance mandatory. No explanation, no context. Just those cold words glowing on the computer screen. Alyssa looked at the clock. 8:45. "This can't be good," she whispered. At 9 o'clock sharp, she walked into the boardroom. A huge mahogany table, leather chairs, pictures of former directors on the walls, all seeming to judge anyone who entered. And around the table, 5 board members she barely knew. Preston Hale with a thick folder in his hands and a smile that didn't reach his eyes. And Liam Harrison with a serious expression. Miss Carter. One of the board members, a gray-haired man with glasses, pointed to an empty chair. "Please sit down." Alyssa sat. Her heart was beating so hard she was sure everyone could hear it. "Do you know why you're here?" the man asked. "No, sir." Preston cleared his throat, standing up as if he was about to give the speech of his life. "Gentlemen of the board, what I'm about to reveal is extremely serious." He opened the folder with a dramatic flourish. "Miss Carter has been leaking confidential information from Starlight Tower to our competitors." The air left Alyssa's lungs. "What?" Preston spread documents on the table. Emails, financial reports, market strategies, all sent to the Grandview Hotels network in recent weeks. "That's a lie. The documents say otherwise, Miss Carter." Alyssa looked at the papers. Her name, her corporate email, dates, times, everything looking terribly real. "I never sent any of this. These documents are fake." "Are you saying the evidence is lying?" "I'm saying that you are lying." Preston smiled, pleased to have gotten her out of control. "What a serious accusation, Miss Carter. Do you have proof?" Alyssa opened her mouth, but the words didn't come. "How do you prove something didn't happen?" One of the board members, a woman with short hair, frowned. "Miss Carter, these are serious accusations. Leaking confidential information could result in criminal charges." "I didn't do this. I would never do this." "Then how do you explain these documents?" "I don't know, but someone is sabotaging me." Preston shook his head with false sadness. "Always the victim, aren't you?" Liam, who had been silent until now, shifted in his chair. "Preston, these are serious accusations. Did you verify the authenticity of these documents?" "Of course I did. They're all in the system." "In the system?" Liam picked up one of the papers. "And how did you find them? By auditing an employee's email? By doing my job of protecting this company? Your job?" Liam placed the paper on the table. "Interesting." Preston narrowed his eyes. "What are you suggesting?" "I'm not suggesting anything yet." Liam leaned back in his chair. "Continue." Preston looked satisfied and turned to the board. "But that's not all, gentlemen." He pulled out another folder, smaller, but apparently more valuable. "The reason Mr. Harrison is so reluctant to see the truth about Miss Carter is because—" dramatic pause. "He's having an affair with her." The silence that followed was deafening. Alyssa felt her face catch fire. Preston opened the folder and spread photos on the table. The zoo. Liam and Alyssa walking together. The children running ahead, all 4 having ice cream. Liam opening the car door for Alyssa. "These photos were taken last Saturday." Preston said triumphantly. "As you can see, the relationship between them goes far beyond professional." The board members looked at the photos, then at Liam, then at Alyssa. "She wasn't hired for competence," Preston continued. "She was hired because she seduced the CEO, and now she's using that position to leak information and probably share the profits with." "Are you finished?" Liam's voice was calm, cold, controlled. Preston blinked. "What?" Liam stood up slowly, buttoning his jacket. "I asked if you were finished. With the theater." "This isn't theater. These are facts. Facts." Liam walked to the table and picked up one of the photos. "Yes, we went to the zoo. With our children. That's not a crime." "But clearly there's a relationship." "Crime," Liam interrupted, his voice sharp, "is falsifying documents. Crime is defaming an employee. Crime is invading people's privacy and taking hidden photos like a stalker." Preston went pale. "I didn't falsify anything." Liam put his hand in the inside pocket of his jacket and pulled out an envelope. "On the day of the first event Miss Carter coordinated, some documents disappeared from the coordination folder. She informed me, and I, as a precaution, kept the originals." He opened the envelope and spread the papers on the table. "These are the true reports, no changes, with the original timestamp." He looked at Preston. "Interestingly, the changes that appear in the system were made from your computer, Preston, with your login at 11:47 at night on a Friday." Preston's face went from pale to red. That's... And about these photos." Liam picked up the image from the zoo. "You're right. I took Miss Carter and her son for an outing, with my daughter, like 2 families getting to know each other." He looked directly at Preston. "And if she wants to? What exactly is the problem?" Complete silence. I am the CEO of this company. I own the majority of shares. I built this hotel from the ground up. Liam's voice was firm, unwavering. And I will date whoever I want, whenever I want. He turned to Alyssa, and his voice softened. If she wants to, of course. Alyssa wanted to disappear. She wanted the ground to open up and swallow her. She wanted to be anywhere but there, with all those eyes on her. But she also felt something warm in her chest. Something she couldn't name. The board members exchanged glances. The gray-haired man cleared his throat. Mr. Harrison, given the circumstances, we see no problem with your personal life. I'm glad you agree. Preston took a step back. Liam, you're making a mistake. The only mistake I made was trusting you for 8 years. Liam turned to the board. I propose the immediate removal of Preston Hale, pending investigation for document falsification, defamation, and harassment. Approved, the gray-haired board member said, and the others nodded. Preston looked around, searching for allies. He found none. This isn't over, he said through gritted teeth. Yes, it is. Liam pointed to the door. Security will escort you out. Your belongings will be sent to you. Preston straightened his jacket with hands trembling with anger. He walked to the door, but before leaving, he turned to Alyssa. You think you've won? Alyssa, who had remained silent during Liam's entire defense, finally found her voice. I don't think so. I'm sure of it. Preston left, slamming the door. The room fell silent. One by one, the board members stood up, gathered their papers, and left, some patting Liam on the shoulder, others avoiding eye contact with Alyssa, until only the two of them remained. Alyssa was still sitting, her hands trembling in her lap. Liam approached. Are you okay? She let out a nervous laugh. I just got accused of corporate espionage, almost lost my job, and my boss declared to the entire board that he wants to date me. Other than that, everything's great. Liam sat in the chair next to her. Sorry about that. About the public declaration. I didn't plan it, but when he used those photos to try to destroy you, he ran his hand through his hair. I couldn't stay quiet. Alyssa looked at him. You kept the original documents, from day one. I suspected something was wrong. I just didn't know what. You protected me. This whole time. Liam looked into her eyes. And I'll keep protecting you, if you'll let me. Alyssa felt her heart race. What you said about if I wanted to. I meant every word. The air between them was charged. Alyssa could hear her own breathing. Liam, you don't have to answer now. He stood up, extending his hand to help her. But I needed you to know. She took his hand. His touch was warm, firm. I know, she said quietly. Now I know. They stood there, hands still intertwined, the silence saying more than any words. And in that moment, Alyssa realized that something had definitely changed. There was no going back. On Tuesday morning, Alyssa was still trying to process everything that had happened. 24 hours earlier, she had almost lost her job. She had been accused of espionage. She had seen photos of herself spread across a conference table as if she were a criminal, and she had heard Liam Harrison declare, in front of the entire board, that he wanted to date her. If she wants to, of course. Those words hadn't left her mind all night. Alyssa was staring at her computer screen without really seeing anything when a knock on the door made her jump. Liam was standing there, hands in his pockets, looking strangely nervous. Got a minute? He asked. Sure. He came in and closed the door behind him. So, yesterday was intense, Alyssa laughed. Intense is one way to describe it. I wanted to apologize for putting you in that situation, in front of everyone. You defended me. I exposed you. You protected me. Alyssa looked into his eyes. There's a difference. Liam relaxed a little. Good, because I have an invitation, and I don't want you to think it's pressure or anything like that. An invitation? Dinner, tonight, at my place. He ran his hand through his hair. Me, you, Emma, and Noah. Pizza. Nothing fancy, just dinner. Alyssa felt her heart speed up. Dinner with the kids? Yeah, I thought after everything, it would be good. Normal. He paused. I want normal with you, Alyssa. She bit her lip, trying to hide her smile. What time? 7? I'll be there. At 7:15 because Noah couldn't find his sneakers and then wanted to bring 3 stuffed dinosaurs just in case, Alyssa rang the doorbell of a house she had never seen. It was beautiful. Big, but not intimidating. With a front yard and a porch with rocking chairs. The door opened and Emma appeared. Noah. Emma. They hugged each other like they hadn't seen each other in months, not 3 days. Come see my room. I organized all my drawings to show you. They disappeared upstairs before any adult could say anything. Liam appeared at the door, smiling. Are they always like this? Always. Come in. Pizza is on its way. Liam's house was exactly like Alyssa had imagined, organized but with signs of life. Emma's drawings on the refrigerator, toys in a corner of the living room, pictures of father and daughter everywhere, and a photo of a beautiful woman on the bookshelf. Emma's mother, Alyssa realized. She didn't ask anything. She didn't need to. Dinner was chaotic and perfect. Emma wanted cheese pizza. Noah wanted pepperoni. They argued for 5 minutes about which was objectively better until Liam solved it by ordering both. Cheese is basic, Noah argued. Basic is classic, Emma shot back. Classic is boring. You're boring. You're the one who's boring. I like you. I like you too. Alyssa and Liam exchanged a look over the pizza boxes. That look parents share when they have no idea how these children work but find it amusing anyway. After dinner, Emma dragged Noah off to pick a movie. We'll be back in 5 minutes, she shouted from the living room. 5 kid minutes means 20 adult minutes, Alyssa said. At least. Liam pointed to the porch door. Want to get some air? The back porch overlooked the yard. Fairy lights hung from the ceiling. 2 comfortable chairs side by side. They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the children's voices arguing about which movie to watch. Thank you for this, Alyssa said finally. For today. For everything. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. After everything that happened, you didn't have to do any of this. Liam turned to face her. Alyssa, I didn't do this because I had to. I did it because I wanted to. She felt her heart speed up. Liam, let me talk. Before I lose my nerve. He took a deep breath. Yesterday, when I said those things at the meeting, I wasn't pretending. It wasn't strategy. It wasn't to defend the company. He looked into her eyes. It was because it's true. Alyssa couldn't answer. I think about you all the time, Liam continued. About your smile. The way you make everything seem lighter. The way you look at Noah like he's the most important thing in the world. He leaned forward. I don't want this to be just once in a while. A walk here, a dinner there. I want more. More? More days like this. With you. With them. He pointed to the living room where the children were still arguing. I want to wake up knowing I'm going to see you. I want Noah and Emma to grow up together. I want to try. Alyssa felt her eyes sting. What if it doesn't work out? What if it does? She laughed, a somewhat teary laugh. Do you always answer questions with questions? Only when I'm nervous. The big CEO is nervous? The big CEO is terrified. Liam took her hand. Alyssa Carter, do you want to date me? Officially. With pizza dinners, arguments about dinosaurs versus unicorns, and 2 kids who will probably drive us crazy. Alyssa looked at him. At those blue eyes that had seen through her since day one. At this man who had believed in her when no one else did. Yes, she said. I do. Liam smiled. That smile that transformed his whole face. And then, under the soft porch light, he leaned in and kissed her. It was a gentle kiss, sweet, full of promise. When they pulled apart, the children were standing in the doorway, mouths hanging open. Taddy, Emma shouted. You kissed her! I saw it! Noah confirmed. On the mouth! Alyssa hid her face in her hands, laughing. Are you boyfriend and girlfriend now? Emma asked, her eyes shining. Liam looked at Alyssa. Are we? We are. Yes, Emma cheered. Noah frowned, thoughtful. Does this mean I get a sister? It means we're going to spend more time together, Alyssa explained. Okay, pause. But do I get a bigger room? Noah, it's a fair question. What about a dog? Emma added. If we're going to be a family, we need a dog. Nobody said anything about a dog. Dog, 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 both children started chanting. Liam looked at Alyssa with an expression of mock desperation. What have we gotten ourselves into? Too late to turn back now. I don't want to turn back. Alyssa smiled. Me neither. The evening ended on the couch with a movie that nobody really watched. Emma fell asleep leaning against her father. Noah fell asleep in Alyssa's lap, and the 2 adults sat there, holding hands over the cushions, in comfortable silence. Alyssa looked at the scene around her. At Emma, who had lost her mother but still knew how to smile. At Noah, who finally had a friend who understood his obsessions with dinosaurs. At Liam, who had carried so much weight alone for so long. And at herself. The woman who, just a few months ago, had $43 in her account and no hope. Everything had changed because of one choice. Stopping on a sidewalk, helping a lost child, doing the right thing when nobody was watching. Liam gently squeezed her hand. She looked at him. What are you thinking about? He whispered. About how strange life is. One day you're running after a bus, And the next? The next? She smiled. The next you find your family. Liam brought her hand to his lips and kissed it softly. And in that living room, under the soft light of the lamp, with 2 children asleep and the comfortable silence of those who don't need words, it wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. A new story. A family. The end. What about you? Have you ever stopped doing something important to help a stranger? Share your story here in the comments. Who knows, maybe your story could become a movie too. On a scale of 0 to 10, what rating would you give this story? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to receive more touching stories like this one. See you next time.